Everyone expects you to have all the answers, but who's asking you how you're doing? Who's helping you think through your challenges? Engineer Your Success Insiders is my private podcast designed specifically for you. It's like having a coach in your corner focused on helping you win at work and at home. One story, one insight, one action that you can take, all wrapped up into real coaching insights that you can use. Join at engineeryoursuccessnow.com/insiders.
Success isn't just about what you achieve. It's about living a life that reflects your values and priorities. Welcome to Engineer Your Success, the podcast that helps you lead with intention and live fulfilled.
Welcome to the Engineer Your Success podcast. My name is Dr. James Bryant, your host for the show, and your guide for winning at work and at home. Here's a question. What if building the business of your dreams quietly cost you everything that you care about? Today's guest, Jim Weldon, is a professional entrepreneur with over 30 years of experience launching and scaling companies, many of them self-funded, debt-free, and profitable from day one. He's mastered the art of finding the fastest path to cash and building with leverage, not just bloat. But that's only part of Jim's story. He spent the early years of his career obsessed with winning until he realized that obsession was quietly eroding his marriage, his presence with his kids, and his peace of mind. What changed? A single agreement between him and his wife that helped them rewrite the rules for how to build big and stay whole. In this episode, we're going to unpack what it really takes to win at work and at home, and why the smartest systems in business still won't save you if your personal life is falling apart. Jim, welcome to the show. I want to dig right in and start with, you've launched over a dozen ventures. What fueled that kind of drive early on?
First of all, thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. Second of all, you did a really good job on the pre-interview questions. I feel like I'm in a therapy session now on this opening. And to answer your question, what fueled me was, it was one of those things where there was no master plan. It was a kind of happenstance of circumstances where I was working for a company and one of the VPs who liked me winds up getting fired and then goes, "Hey, do you want to come work for me?" I'm like, "Sure." And then my first experience watching him was the company went bankrupt and they took money from individual investors. I was mortified and I had no job. Then we had to figure something out. I couldn't pay my rent. So he said, "Hey, why don't you stay with me?" So we started our first company because only one of us could go look at the technology. And necessity is the mother of invention. What happened was, it turned out to be that the beginning of the electronic filing industry in the tax area with the federal government. And we were in year one. We're one of the original pioneers, H&R Block and Jackson Hewlett and all those big agents. We were an independent service bureau. And all I heard was, hey, 80% gross profit margins. That sounded like a lot to a 20-something kid. So I came back and I said, "Hey, let's do it." And they're like, "Hey, you need to give us 50 grand for the territory." "Yeah, we don't have that." "What if you give us credit and when we make money during the season, we'll do it." So that's how we got started in business. We already got them to pay for us to join their company. They gave us the software for free. We had no idea what we were doing. We had never done a tax return. And oh, by the way, we were going to focus on the Hispanic market in Southern California, and none of us spoke Spanish. That's how I got into the business.
So tell us what happened from there.
So what happened from there was, I started with my brothers, and after the first season, we did really well. We got from 0 to like 8 million in the first year, which was incredible. We had this little binder. My brother went to Staples and bought a little notebook, and it was the money idea book. On the left-hand side, we wrote everything we were going to continue to do. On the right-hand side, everything we were going to stop doing. We came up with a really interesting set of questions our first year in business. Who has our customer? Who will give us access to the customer? And by how they give us access to, they give us an implied endorsement. Doesn't mean a lot on its own. Somebody always goes, "Oh, it sounds like a reseller program." And I'm like, not exactly. Because with a reseller program, you have to make 20 promises to a partner to fulfill them. It's a very long program. Versus what we said was, "Hey, listen, if you offer this electronic filing rapid refund, reembolso rápido in Spanish, we think you could double your net profit. Can I show you on the back of a napkin?" They're like, "Oh, we're interested to see this." So we showed them that if you 20% of your tax customers did this. You double your profit and no risk up front. It gets paid out of the tax refund check by the client and they won't care.
Yeah.
Okay. So super simple USP, easy to communicate value. Didn't know what those things meant. But in retrospect, we did a bunch of stuff right. And it just allowed us to skyrocket. By the third year, we were 60 million in sales, no outside capital. It was a grand total of 10 grand we had risked in the business. And we were off to the races. And then we made a whole bunch of mistakes on selling it, but that's a whole other series, James.
Well, we may have to get you on that one when we talk about making the exit. But at some point through your career, I've heard you talk about being obsessed with winning or being obsessed when you were in the hunt. So what did that look like and what did that cost you?
So obsessed is a word that is fairly recent, last 5 years, 10 years. And I didn't realize I was doing it for the prior 25. And um, in order to definition of win for us is we were generating enough cash flow to be a lifestyle entrepreneur. We weren't trying to please investors. And could we build the things we wanted to build? So that we were obsessed with winning from a cash flow perspective and from helping our customers. And the obsession is 7 days a week, 365 days a year. My eyes were open. I was thinking or working on the business. What did it cost me? It cost me just anxiousness all the time, edginess, not being present, just not a lot of fun to be around because I was obsessed with the business. And I know you've probably heard this a bunch of times. Well, my job is to provide. So just let me provide and you guys got to pick up the rest of the pieces. How many times have we heard that as entrepreneurs? But as men, we feel tasked and responsible, even though it's a partnership. We look at it as a responsibility on our back. So what did it cost me? Nearly everything. Just being healthy, emotionally, physically, relationship wise, was not healthy. So,
but I want to circle back to that point. As entrepreneurs, as men, as providers, we do have this drive where we want to provide. We will say, and I think to some degree it's true, that everything we're doing it for our family to create this environment where we can provide. But there's also a part of that where we're being dishonest. There's a part of us that just likes the hunt. So I think when we put it all on the doing it for my family, we have to recognize there's a part of it that we like.
Oh, for sure. It's the adrenaline, the creativity, winning with signing clients and then paying and then being happy with us. Because that was the feedback loop, right? If you're obsessed with the client and you're providing the right services, you've matched it right, and they want to come back, there's a dopamine hit that, hey, it validates you in business because that's as the founder of the company, the person coming up with the idea and bringing it to market, there's a lot of self-gratification around that.
And so I think you once said that you logged into work 340 days in a year.
Yeah.
Or you did that every day for the first 7 years.
Yeah, it was crazy. So we would look at our log files every once in a while on our network to see when we logged in. It was like, there was no remote VPN. Yeah. So it wasn't like I was doing it at home. I was at the office. My son spent a lot of time with me at the office. My wife spent time driving by and visiting me at the office. There's nights when everybody slept at the office. We were working during the tax season. So yeah, we didn't know any different and thought that's what it took to be successful.
I appreciate you sharing that. What finally made you stop and reassess?
I'll be off a little bit, but not by much. We moved from Southern Cal to Northern Cal, and my wife was like, this is insanity. And I think we were 7 years in or 8 years in, and she goes, listen, Monday morning, I get up early. From 6 till Friday at 5, you do whatever you need to. If the kids have events, you got to get to them somehow. But if you're working at home, office, wherever, I don't care. But Friday at 5 comes, I need you to check in, and you need to jump in and be present. And I did an okay job for a number of years. But one of the things I did do is take the kids to school every day until they could drive. So that was kind of fun. I kind of made all their sporting events because I did a lot of sports in my youth and big on it. And so I made that as that's my make good. I'm one of the few dads who can make. So I'm a good dad. So that's kind of how you rationalize it. So that was what changed. We had sold a company, moved up north, and she's like, this isn't working. Thank God for her. She was right.
How did that shift your presence at home? I know you've talked about being there, taking the kids to school, making it to all of their sports activities, but what other impact did that have on your ability to be present?
To be honest, not a lot. I still hadn't figured out how to be in that moment. I physically showed up, but mentally still, the mind was cranking and just a tad disconnected still. It took me till the kids were almost out of the house, and you realize how precious time is. You're like, this is really a stupid time to wake up. I should have woken up when they were 2, not when they were 16.
Mhm.
So little regret on the lost years there, but now I'm fortunate I get to work with my son in business and talk to that guy 3 or 4 times a week. And I get to talk to my daughter about once a week and with our grandson. So everything kind of works out. You always hope for the better. I'll take where I'm at.
Leadership comes with high expectations, too many responsibilities, too little time, and the constant pressure to keep up. If you're feeling stretched thin, you're not alone. At Engineer Your Success, we help leaders take back control so that they can lead with confidence, delegate effectively, and stop running on empty. You don't have to choose between success and sanity. Let's build a leadership plan that works for you. Visit engineeryoursuccessnow.com today, because thriving isn't just for others, it's for you. So what's the biggest misunderstanding do you think professionals have when it comes to talking about work-life balance?
No such thing, in my perspective. Back to the word obsession. We're talking about people building things. I think the first thing is a false premise, which is I have enough savings. I have credit cards. I'm just going to jump in. I think that's insane. So right there, you've already tipped the scale over in a bad way of risk.
Okay.
So what I recommend is you keep your day job or night job, whatever's paying the bills, then you take on a second job called building a company. And the path to cash is if people will not pay you to consult, you probably don't know enough of that business to go build anything. And everybody's like, well, that's not true. I can build an app. I can do this. Okay. So the app's done in a month. Why would you quit your job if you can build an app in a month? If you can do viral loop marketing, why would you quit your job until it actually pays you cash? So it's this false premise of I got to go all in because that's what it takes. That's bullshit. BS. It's something we've all been sold on the front of the cereal box on Inc. magazine. And all we ever see, by the way, is all the stuff that works. We don't see the lessons from the edge like they teach in YEO and YPO, which is let's have a real conversation. You're getting to the person. You're not, don't tell me what's really the price you paid.
Yeah.
Sold my soul out 340 days a year. You wasn't present, a happy person a lot of the time because you're so stressed. So I think the first thing is false premise on how they enter the business. The second thing is they take too much financial risk too early with so little success indicators defined. We talk about product to market fit. Do you have cash to pay everybody, including yourself? Start there. That product to market fit is about momentum and scaling. Can I get enough knuckleheads to pay me to keep this enterprise working? I'm amazed how many people jump over that step. Yeah. And I still do it at every business. Even today, I went out to a group of half a dozen folks and said, hey, this is what we're looking to do. I want you to prepay and help me fund building this because there's no way you could get this kind of innovation work done internally for this price. And they went, yeah, you're right. So because of my expertise and my prior track record, I was able to get them to pre-fund. So I literally had the company, all the people covered in our expenses from month 1. I took a reduced salary on that company. We didn't have any extra, super, super lean. That's the second thing is,
okay.
Can you get the cash on there? Then the third thing I think that plays into this is, are you being honest with yourself and listening to the feedback? Because we get delusional, man, as entrepreneurs. And this work-life balance thing, if you're going to tip the scale where you're going to spend more time on the business than your job, there's a couple things you could do. You could ask them to work 30 hours a week instead of 50. You could go in and say, can I be a consultant and get half the pay because now half it's covered over here? People think it's binary. I would look at balancing how you manage your work side on the cash and the new venture. Then I would look on the other side. What are the carve out times? We started getting better, my wife and I, just carving out. This is date night. This is go to the beach slot. And this is, when the kids are around, they had our schedules full. So we didn't need to fill it in with them. But now we have either Saturday or Sunday and we have this night and we just have our 3 or 4 times a week. So you engineer the balance, but it is not equal. When you are an entrepreneur, you're going to be 70% of your time in your business.
I stopped talking about just straight up work-life balance and started using the whole phrase winning at work and home. and not as a binary choice, but it's something that you have to work on and do. Yeah. Is it 50-50? No. I liken it to riding a bike. So the whole time you are moving, you're making adjustments, but you're moving forward, you're moving towards something. When you have to lean into one area of life or work, then you lean into that. When you have to lean into the other side, then you do that, because this whole ideal of static balance is a myth. And it gives work-life balance a bad taste in people's mouth, because typically the advice is, Jim, just don't work as hard. Jim, make more time for your family. There is no recognition of the real tension in what you're facing. You covered a lot, actually. You covered just the tension that you have when you have a job and you want to start a company, and some steps that you can do there, and how you can find balance between your job and your company.
Now look at how you fund the company. Is we always see all these big AI fundraising rounds, and I tell people it's 1 out of 100 companies they see that get institutional funding, venture funding. That means you're 99 times more likely not to raise money from an institutional investor. Why would that be your strategy? That makes the only sustainable way to keep a company going is through cash flow. People assume you have to have your final product to do that. And there are 20 ways to get cash. You could license the idea to somebody else and exclude a market and get them to pay you. You could consult on that company, on that idea, why they build it, and they pay you. You could be a reseller of a similar product until you get the pitch down and have them pay you. I'm amazed at how little leverage and creativity people put in. They're so binary. If I don't go all in like these big guys, I'm not going to get it done. That kind of insane approach works for certain people that can raise the capital and are afforded the luxury. I'm Irish Catholic, middle class upbringing. I didn't have a safety net. I don't know how you were brought up, James, but I'm guessing you probably didn't have a safety net. No. Most people don't have safety nets. So what do we have? Our own wits and our creativity. And our other thing we haven't talked about yet is grit.
Yep.
That is the hardest thing to turn off when you're an entrepreneur. Am I in this deal too long and I messed it up? Am I committed to a direction for too long and I should have pivoted? It's just a really bad idea. And my ego won't let me just kill it.
Yeah.
And forget a pivot. Just stop doing this. I've been in some dumb stuff we've doubled, tripled down on because our grit is ridiculous. We will torture ourselves.
I'm saying, let's talk about that. What helps you make decisions now? You can talk about the experiences that you've had, but I think it might be instructive for our listeners to understand, given the benefit of your experiences, how do you make decisions now?
One of the things I've done is I've changed how I make decisions.
Okay.
I'm still, and there's a couple things that changed in my career. One is I went from listening to opinions to people with earned point of views. That was a huge distinction. And I didn't understand why it was so important until I started really critically looking at it. And here's what that means. So you and I could be, let's say we talk about some public policy, right? But neither one of us have worked in government. We can have an opinion. But let's say both of us worked at a think tank and we have a really deep earned point of view because we've researched it. It's a point of view. There's very rarely the point of view. So that as well made an opportunity and a difference in decision-making to consider other paths. If I come out with, this is the plan, now I've cut off all creativity, all contribution of thinking, and now I've said it's going to be my way or the highway. And that's a really hard way to make a decision. So one of the things that's evolved over the years is I went from, this is the way I want to go. I just made a decision, we're going to go. Worked out. A lot of times didn't. A lot of times did. Second thing is started to be more collaborative, but I really wasn't collaborative. I was looking for people to validate my ideas. I was, you're just not seeing it, Dr. James. Come on, man. Just consider my point of view. I don't know if I'm explaining it right. What do you think?
And then you keep re-explaining it because the answer that you're getting is not what you want.
Man.
Yep.
And so then what happened is I would say probably in the last 10 years, and I have to give my partner credit for this. He has this theory, and he says 2 people can come up with ideas, 3 people can really, really discuss and decide. Because you get that dynamic tension between 3 people versus you and I are just single thought threading versus the other person's like, I'm not seeing it that way. I got a different view. What I learned was he also taught me there are very few decisions that have to be made right now.
Okay.
Make fewer decisions, but bigger ones. I'm like an entrepreneur. I just keep making decisions and I've got all the balls juggling. He's like, doesn't seem like you're spending a lot of time thinking about the big ones. I slowed down my decision making, which was really hard. So you add collaboration in the decision making process. Honestly, you're not coming in with the plan. You're coming in with a earned point of view,
Okay.
which now means I'm not really going to give my thoughts on this. If I don't know about it, I'm just going to say, I don't have a perspective on this. I don't have enough experience. What do you guys think? And that's the trigger question. It's invitation to ask you to contribute. Hey, James, what do you think about this?
Yeah.
Now the door's open, creativity's open. There's no biased direction. You're going to get a really well-reasoned, hopeful decision around this. And then the last piece that's a little more metaphysical, but a big Charlie Munger fan who passed away recently from Berkshire Hathaway, he built meta models for everything.
Okay.
An abstraction, as I'm sure you know, just knowing most people don't run their life in a meta model. So in business, the meta model is super simple for me on business. Is I'm not trying to sell something. I'm in the matching business. So is the challenges you have, does what I have match them? And is the timing right? Not do you have budget and do I have the right features? It's like 7 layers of matching that has to happen. Sure. Problem, solution. Okay. Layer 1, budget, available. Layer 2, sponsor, technical feasibility. Layer, going through like whether it's Xerox selling or IBM consultative selling. Then the next thing is there project fatigue at the company? I've never heard anybody ask that. Are they just up to their eyeballs and can't take another initiative? The other one, hey, how do you get paid, Dr. James, with this project? Putting you at risk reputationally or financially? Once I know that, I know how I can help you. Because they say make the person the hero of the story. So you start going through this thinking and you're just like, holy smokes, I was really not a real discerning, deep thinker. Then the last 5 years changed more. Working with what I learned was I had to stop being dad and being a supportive partner, which was different than my other relationships because we were just equal peers, men in our 60s, 50s working together.
Yeah.
But then your son, you've got that father-son dynamic, and it's like, how do I allow him to elevate himself and then exceed me? So then my role went from trying to compete with him to how do I enable him? And how do I get him launched higher?
What's been the biggest challenge for you working with your son?
We only have how many hours left on the podcast? Well, here's the good thing. My wife gives great perspective, which is, she goes, do you want to make this an experience where you teach him or torture him?
Ooh.
And I'm like, what are you talking about? She goes, your tone of voice, talking down to him. You got it figured out. That's torture for a kid.
Yeah.
So he goes, you think you're teaching him. You're torturing the kid.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, wow, that's a horrible feeling to be. Put that as the backdrop. Obviously, my wife's way smarter than me. So when I had a very intentional plan, I started working with him when he was 10, his first company. And I made $1,800 on the first deal and then retired for 2 years because he didn't have any expenses. Then he built a company that sold electronic goods to the UK, but we didn't understand the VAT tax. So we lost money. He goes, my first venture with you and I lose money. What the heck, Dad? And then we built a testing company and he just kept building things. Now he's sold 3 companies. He's 31 years old. Here's what's changed. He did discrete things. And this is why I actually like a little bit of where your son's going. They went into the real world and got a skill. Whatever that skill is he going to be a customer success person? Is he going to be a salesperson? Is he an engineer? Is he a product innovation person? Is he a testing person? They find and gravitate to the group real quickly that lights them up. And it may not. So the first thing was my son wanted to be an entrepreneur. He wanted to be a CEO since he's 5 years old. He sat in board meetings and management meetings with me, and he just thinks that's the coolest thing. Dad's at the head of the table and in charge.
Well, is it that was the coolest thing, or Dad's the coolest thing?
He would never admit to the latter right now at 31. But what's happened is it changed. So it went from me imparting a bunch of knowledge to then him running his own deal with me supporting him to now he drives it. He's at front. And I support him in a really big way, quietly behind the scenes. And the biggest success we've ever had together in our life was with him leading. So he's more likable. He's more polished. is more patient. So I shared with him all of the things that I felt held me back and the mistakes I made in business. So I didn't hide, hey, here's where we screwed up. Here's where we did this. So he doesn't make those mistakes. He makes different ones now. And he's not making that many, knock wood. He's got a company doing 8 figures now, bought by a big PE firm, and he's on a track way further than I was at any time of my career. So
No,
how did it work? Pretty darn good. I think I was fortunate.
no, man, that is great. And, we have these pre-meetings and I get information, but the conversation takes a life of its own. And I think it is beautiful just to be able to sit and have great conversations like this and be able to share those conversations with the audience, because I think that the information can be helpful and that it can impact people's lives.
It's
Yeah.
always the goal. Hopefully, if somebody goes, I didn't even think about those ideas before I quit my day job. And I'm like, I've risked everything, and it's crazy to do that.
Yeah.
And almost everybody I know that's went big has risked everything. But there's a moderate way to do this, man. You don't have to be crazy.
You don't have to be crazy, but you do have to take risks.
They need to be calculated risks.
So what things are you working on right now? What's your latest venture that you're putting your hands to?
Understanding where AI is going. I don't think everybody really understands the limitations of how LLM models work. They don't have a notion of a thread. We have a conversation, you and I can recall it. The way LLMs work, they get retrained and the prior memories literally disappear. So you and me could have one conversation on ChatGPT, and then 2 months later, it can have a very different perspective, which is kind of scary. So did the corpus of knowledge change, or did the LLM get impacted by things that changed it? Can I rely on it? The answer is no. I would say outside of really specific private LLM data, like McKinsey's doing it, Xavier.ai, incredible. They're using all of their private consultative decks to drive a generative AI engine is one. So what am I focused on? I had the same cool experience somebody else does, put some stuff in a prompt, and I learned how to prompt better. Then you're like, what can I really do with this? Then agentic came about, and we started looking at, okay, is this Zapier on steroids, task automation? Most of it is. It's mostly low-brow task automation. What's going to happen is that will change as the models get smarter and the recursive learning loops start, taking functional areas of a company and investing in them: customer success, customer support response with the chat bots that really are like a person on the other end, SDR activities on marketing qualification, top of the funnel. I think those things are going to rapidly be eliminated. 70-80% of the workflow need of a human. So what we're working on is, how do you create a digital twin organization? That person runs a group of smart agents. So you take those tasks and break them down and say, hey, Dr. James, I need you to research the top 30 companies in this space. You send your marketing agent, smart agent, your agentic agent to go do that. And it comes back with a full-blown analysis, competitive SWOT matrix. You're like, oh my God. And they're good. 85% of the work's done, and the person has to do the last 15. Then you're like, hey, can you do a go-to-market plan on everything you know about? We've uploaded 150 sales decks, 200 hours of recordings. You know how we sell. Tell me how you would change our go-to-market plan. Then it comes back pretty amazing what it does. So I think understanding that people are going to have to really drive and use these smart agents, agentic flows for the next year or two is going to be helpful. Then I think 2 years out, even less, on the amount of horsepower going in between now and 2030 in data centers is going to stagger what's already been invested. $1 trillion in the last 24 months has went into AI between hardware and investments in companies. I think it's about 500 billions went into hardware, and that's just the big five. It's just the big five. About 450, 500 billion has went into 20,000 AI companies and all different parts of the stack. Understanding the stack, I didn't know. So what am I obsessed with? Understanding where we can play and take our company. One of the biggest issues missing in agentic flows is, how do I trigger a flow? And then what data can I do to enrich it? And how do I activate off that flow? So that's what we spent at Prospect Desk trying to figure out. We built a bunch of smart agents that we power with our own technology. And that's what we're trying to share now with our customers. I literally have a call after this, sitting down with one of my biggest partners to talk about this exact topic.
Okay. And what's your company again? I want to make sure, because I don't think we laid that out earlier.
Yeah, it's prospect, like prospectdesk.ai. And what we do is help power agentic flows and top of funnel prospecting for companies. If you're trying to figure out how to fill the top of your funnel, we give you the data and the capabilities and technologies to help accelerate that.
Okay. And what's the size of company that makes your ideal client?
It's funny, we only have a dozen partners. So it'll be people that are performance marketing agencies that do it at size.
Okay.
So, like for instance, it's on our website. They have 55,000 customers. They're a marketing agency on behalf of a lot of their clients. The Voice Media Group, they have 5,000 end customers. Those, to me, that's two. Their
Yeah.
end customers I don't talk to. I talk to two people and I get access. Remember that thing we talked about earlier on? Who has my customer, who gives me access, and by how they give me access and implied endorsement?
Yeah.
People go, that's a reseller. Nah. I said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to give you the majority of the money. So when we split with our partners, they get 60, 70% of the fees. You're going to deal with support and customer acquisition, and we're going to deal with making sure everything works and you can keep the revenue machine going. That's
Yeah.
all we do.
Okay.
That's a lot different than a reseller program.
Yeah, it is.
We're a strategic innovation partner that helps drive revenue initiatives. That's what we're going to do.
I think that's going to be a soundbite.
There you go. You can take it.
No, AI is going to pull that out as a soundbite for a reel that goes out from this. I can almost guarantee it. But hey, as we get ready to wrap things up, if someone's listening and they're interested in connecting with you, what's the best way for them to contact you?
So easiest thing, I still answer most of my own inbound emails, jim@prospectdesk.ai. Or on the website, say, hey, I was on Dr. James Bryant's podcast and I liked what you had to say. Do you have time to meet? You could send it through an online form as well. Easiest ways to do it.
Okay, we'll include a link to that in the show notes. So if you're listening and you want to get in contact with Jim, you will be able to do that. The last question before we wrap things up is I give you the opportunity to ask me any question that you would like.
What's your goal on your relationship working with your son in a business?
I think the goal there is to really empower him to succeed at whatever it is that he does. My background is in engineering. He's going to school for business. And so he's already starting to branch out from this is what my dad did, so I'm going to do that. Now, he does like the entrepreneurial part of it, or at least the business part in the discussions that we talk about, but he wants to do his own thing. So for me, it's really equipping him as best I can to help him succeed.
And I love it. The lesson I learned on that is just try not to be too much dad and be more partner.
Yeah.
So are you his dad or his partner? My son is very clear. Sometimes he goes, hey, I need my dad here, not my partner. And I'm like, oh, that's really and sometimes he just, unconditional love support. That's what it means between us when we say dad now. And when it's partner, it's like, hey, we can debate this out. But sometimes he doesn't want to debate it out. And he just wants me to be supportive. That's the gift I've taken from my son.
No, that is great. And Jim, I want to thank you again for joining the podcast. It has been a pleasure talking to you. And I'm going to end this episode like I end every episode. And that's this. Many people know what to do. Fewer people know how to do it. And there's a select group of people that actually follow through and do it. And they're making a big impact on the world. Jim, I want to thank you for being part of that select few.
It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
You keep hitting the same walls with your team, your workload, your life.
You know what they say about insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results?
Are you ready to break the cycle? Engineer Your Success. Insiders is Dr. James Bryant's private podcast. It's like having a coach in your corner focused on helping you win at work and home.
One story, one insight, one action to help you focus on what matters most.
Join at engineeryoursuccessnow.com/insiders.